I did.
No. I haven't even had a chance to summer. But I ordered a sub. No, you have to get a sub permit. So I had to pass the C-best, which I've already done, because I already have my security program. So I ordered to take home tests, and I already have my security, and I have a bunch of stuff. Right. And like mandated reporter stuff, I already knew about every time. So basically, you just need that. Oh, is that it?
Is this me? Where my son is? It's his left. You know, they called it sudden memory loss. Auditory loss. About like
That's it. All I was.
So then, it was sudden auditory loss, and it was like he's only at 10%.
Wow.
In that 1 year.
Nobody had
I'm so proud of you. That's awesome. As long as you take the mic from somewhere. I'd like to introduce myself again, though. Are you talking tonight? No. I was with them yesterday. Then I had to settle like with their mom if they were. When I got home, I said,
This chair is like, I was trying to turn it like all the way down to the bottom.
Hey, how are you? Absolutely.
Yeah, I think
You're in the right place.
I can't wait till we start actually talking about academics more and not about money and all that.
That will never be the case.
We will. It'll be done.
Good evening. I don't know if this is on. Can you hear me? It's on. Yeah. I don't think anyone can hear me. Is that okay? My microphone. Does it sound better? Got to be really close. Sorry. We were called to order at 5 p.m. to close session. We reconvened to open session. We now have a report on closed session items.
Under student discipline with respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session, Ed Code 35146, 48912, Government Code Sections 49060 and 49078, and the Family Rights and Privacy Act. There were motions to expel students A and B, and the vote was unanimous. Under Conference on Real Property, pursuant to Government Code 54956.8, in closed session, the board received 9 offers for the purchase of the Vanderleer property located at 1185 Sierra Avenue, Napa, California. The board directed staff to pursue the best and most viable offer. Under anticipated litigation for one special ed student pursuant to Government Code 54956.9B, the board voted to approve the settlement of one case for a special education student in order to meet their educational needs. The board voted to approve the settlement for said student on a motion by Trustee Gracia and a second by Ms. Winters. The board approved it unanimously. And that's the report from closed session.
They're on. They're both on. And just a correction, it was Trustee Waters.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Sorry about that.
And now we'll go into our flag salute. We'll have our student body lead us in the flag salute. I'd like everyone to join me in a moment of silence. Unfortunately, we lost a Browns Valley student whom passed away this last week, and I'd like to dedicate it to Miss Addie Dominici. Thank you very much. This meeting is recorded for live streaming and archiving on the district YouTube channel. Approval of agenda.
So moved.
Second.
First by Mr. Gracia and a second by Mrs. Waters. All those in favor?
Aye.
Approval of minutes.
So moved.
A first by Mr. Gracia and a second by Mrs. Jankowicz. All those in favor?
Aye.
That's okay. Recognition of visitors and employee organizations, if there are any employee organizations and our visitors here. Okay, none. Recognition of Students of the Month, and we will start with Napa High School.
Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Musetti. Thank you for the opportunity to publicly recognize 2 outstanding Napa High School students. The students presented for Student of the Month, they're often involved, strong academically, and student leaders. As I learned the story of Napa High School, by learning the stories of each person, it is clear that the depth of these 2 students' accomplishments extends beyond numbers, letters, and titles. With that, I'd like to first introduce Alfredo Alcantar. Napa High School has a tradition of going out to classes to announce the NVUSD Student Board of the Month in front of their peers. We asked the class why they think the student has been selected for this particular recognition. In presenting to Alfredo Alcantar's English 12 class, his classmates shared stories of his ability to listen, speak three different languages, and give the best presentations that they have ever seen. I'm sure I could learn some skills from what they shared about his organization, his use of technology, and his communication skills. His counselors shared of willingness to take risks by pursuing new opportunities in order to learn and grow. In hearing his stories, it appears that Alfredo works to overcome every challenge that has been set in his path, and there have been many, and move beyond it stronger and a better person and more successful as a result. Alfredo's story of success is powerful, it's a model of resilience, and it's an honor to present him as our Student of the Month.
Hello, my name is Alfredo Samurai Alcantar Jr. I'd first like to extend my gratitude to my mother, the kindler of this flame, who raised me to be so overbearingly passionate. I'd further like to extend that gratitude to the board for allowing this opportunity to apprise my being. I began my Napa Valley journey at Snow Elementary, where I learned community and acceptance. I attended Harvest Middle, where I learned the power of knowledge and education. And as my time here at Napa High comes to an end, I have learned who I am, who I wish to become. I plan on taking the accumulated virtues of my experiences and investing them into my future, a future in which I aspire to study linguistics. I fundamentally desire to become an interpreter, translator with my own practice with which I can connect the diverse populace of the world. My passion for languages has been influenced by my language and history classes, which have revealed to me the numerous differences that connect us. and have pushed me to study and learn the French and Italian languages. My compassion for others is only reinforced by my eagerness to serve my community and improve the lives of those around me. Through every stage of my life here at Napa, I learned a little bit more about the world and my place in it. Enfant, je voudrais vous remercier encore pour cette magnifique opportunité, which roughly translates from French. Thank you again for this wonderful opportunity.
The first moment I had the opportunity to meet Daisy Ramirez Zamora was at the Napa Valley Unified School District Board of Education meeting in May. Her ability to advocate, communicate, and educate the adults and students in the room left a lasting impression on me. Over the past few months since that first experience, I have witnessed her desire to create an inclusive community and establish a culture at Napa High School that represents and has kindness, connectedness, and pride. A culture that values and empowers a student voice that is inclusive. Her leadership and success extends beyond the classroom to her actions with our climate action leadership, Layla, our senior student body president, LGBTQ, and beyond. She is articulate, confident, and strong in her conviction. It is with great pride and joy that I present to you Daisy Ramirez Zamora as our Student of the Month.
Hello. I want to start off by thanking my mother, family, and everyone who's here with me today. My mother is a single mother of 3, so this achievement is not only mine, but hers too. It was actually this week of September, 3 years ago, that I attempted to commit suicide and was hospitalized, which is why today I am so thankful to you, the NVUSD board, for recognizing me. You are so willing to connect with me and other students and hear our stories, and for that, I thank you. There's a quote I carry with me each day from Mrs. Eichner's 5th grade class at Northwood. There's a difference between ordinary and extraordinary, and it's that little extra. It is that little extra that motivated me to be involved in my community in Napa. Coming to Napa High, it was my counselor, Mrs. Bogarin, who was the first person to tell me that it is possible for me to go to a 4-year college. She has given me the resources and supported me into getting into programs such as If Given a Chance, where I'm receiving extra college support. Mr. Aaron's class, sophomore year, English, challenged me to see the world for more than just black and white, and for more than just that is just on my phone screen. I am and have been a volunteer at LGBTQ Connection and Napa County Library for 4 years now, where I was involved in projects such as advocating for the pride flag raising in our own town of Napa. It has been my coaches, Evelyn and Eduardo, in the Leadership Academy that is where I have become more aware of systems of oppression and the kind of impact that I can and am currently making. This year, Ms. Reddy has pushed myself, other students and staff in the importance of healthy connections that we can and have built. It is because of those great connections that I have built with myself, family, teachers, and community that I want to go to a college such as Occidental or Pitzer, where I will go in as undeclared major. There's a lot of negative events happening in the world, as you may know. I have not yet decided where to shift my focus on, but I know that I want to further my education and become a bigger part of the positive change that is coming.
New Technology High School.
Good evening, Board of Education, Dr. Musetti. I'm very, very happy to be here tonight to introduce two of our wonderful New Technology High School seniors. Both of these students are just exceptional examples of the type of student in NVUSD and at New Tech High that we want to send out into our community. They're both leaders, they're both academically excellent, and they're both involved in programs inside and outside of school. So first I'd like to present to you Isabel DeBlois. Isabel is a big leader in our mock trial program and also in our climate action club that's going on campus. She's a very passionate young woman, and I'm excited for you to meet her.
Hello everyone. It is an honor to be here tonight. I would like to start by thanking my former teacher, Tom Serene, who passed away only a couple of weeks ago. For the past 2 years, he played a huge role in my high school career, as well as so many others. Mr. Serene is the one who motivated me to join New Technology High's mock trial team. I came into the mock trial team a scared little sophomore surrounded by upperclassmen. And now I am a senior and president of the mock trial team, who has won Most Valuable Player in mock trial multiple times. So to Mr. Serene, that is attributed to you, for you saw what I was capable of, and you pushed me to do so. I knew since 6th grade I wanted to come to New Technology High School. It's been 6 years, and I do not regret my decision to come here. This school has helped me develop into someone my 6th grade self couldn't have thought possible. I'm a student tutor, an active member in the school's Thirst Project and School for Climate Action Club. I am currently interning at 2 places, the courthouse and the Napa Valley Museum. The amount of support I have received there has helped me pursue my passions and take advantage of new opportunities while pushing me to go outside my boundaries and to take risks. What I have been taught here, I will forever carry with me outside of New Technology's doors and into what comes next. The impact will not be lost. Thank you, and thank you to the staff, my friends, and my family.
And our next student of the month is Jonas Valenzuela. And like Isabel, he is an exceptional student academically and in terms of his leadership, the programs that he's involved with. He's a steadying, collaborative presence in everything that he does and has been a real leader in our robotics and computer science programs. So I'm very happy to introduce you to him.
Hello, My name is Jonas Valenzuela. First off, I'd like to say thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here today. I'd also like to thank my family members, teachers, and the staff of New Technology High. This wouldn't have been possible without the support they have given me. When I first walked into high school, I was an awkward, nerdy kid who wanted to study math and science. Now I'm only slightly less awkward. I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't always this way. I just didn't notice it yet. In 5th grade, I remember telling my friends that I was going to attend New Tech. They promptly responded by telling me that New Tech was a nerd school. I didn't care though. I subconsciously knew that it was the perfect place for me. And I was right. As soon as I started at New Tech, I felt at home. It took some time to get used to constantly interacting with others, but hey, what else do you do at home? Some of my most favorite moments in my academic career have been the deep philosophical conversations I've had at New Tech. I remember talking to my first-year math teacher about his theory of a toroidal structure of the universe, my chemistry teacher and I talking about a potential end of the universe, quantum mechanics, the list goes on and on. Seeing such passionate individuals made me want to be just as passionate. That's what really enabled me to be here today. There have been times in my life where I've had doubts, and it seemed too hard for me. But I always think back to everyone in my life who has persevered in the face of hardships, who have pushed themselves to want to understand more even when it seems like they can't. To quote Isaac Newton, if I have seen it further than others, it is by standing upon the shoulders of giants. I am grateful for my giants. Thank you.
If all the students and the men can come to the front so we can take a group picture, please. Napa High and New Tech, please. Parents, teachers, friends, family. Public comments on non-agenda items. Members of the audience may address the board on any school-related matter that is not on the agenda. The board will not take action on any issue raised during this section of the agenda, and as much as board action is limited to posted agenda items. Speakers are requested to limit their comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Please be aware that the 3 minutes is a firm 3 minutes. Thank you, and once the alarm goes off, your time is up. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong. Acadia? And Dugan, is that right? They could stand right behind. We have plenty of cards.
Dear trustees, and superintendent. Hi, I'm Acadia. I think you should keep Mount George open because it's like my home. We have a theme song we play called We Are Family. Everyone is like family, and it would be devastating to see the Mount George family separated. I also like Mount George because parents make time to make it fun, and everyone works together to make Mount George better. I also think you should keep our school and the other schools open because everybody there is caring. At Mount George, we use the learner profile, which is a bunch of traits that make our school a better place. The learner profile traits are thinker, risk-taker, knowledgeable, balanced, inquire, caring, reflective, communicator, open-minded, and last but not least, principled. Principled is like the IB version of the golden rule, which is to treat others the way you want to be treated. It also means to be responsible and respectful. This is why I think Mount George should not be closed, or if you do choose to close it, at least move all the kids to the same new school to keep our community together. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Duggan Molnar, and I am a 5th grader at Mount George Elementary School. I think Mount George is a great learning environment. I also think that Mount George should stay open because if you close us, you'll be losing a really great school. I hope that one day my little sister, Saoirse, can call Mount George her home just as me and my 2 brothers do today. The teachers at Mount George are amazing, especially the 4th and 5th grade teaching team. Miss Gracia, Miss Garibaldi, and Miss Holquist, who are beyond amazing teachers. As IB learners at Mount George, we are taught 10 learner profile traits that we use in our everyday learning. One learner profile trait is thinker, and to approach complex problems not only from the perspective of how it will affect our lives, but how it will affect our community, our city, our state, our country, and our world. I ask you tonight that the adults that are responsible for making these decisions will be thinkers. I was thinking, my mom says that the district is focused on less than 100 students who are in the homeschool boundaries. But that's not the reality. The truth is that there are over 400 students between Mount George and Yountville that will be affected if you close our schools. That will be not only affecting our 2 schools, but will affecting our school district, our city, and also our world. Another learner profile trait is to be principled. This means to do the right thing even if no one else is looking, and to have a strong sense of fairness. I also hope that the adults that are making these decisions will be principled. I noticed that the problem that we are facing is because of budget. I don't know why people jump to the conclusion that closing our schools is the answer. All I know is that Mount George and Yountville didn't do anything to deserve being closed. You can't give us something as great as Mount George and then take it away. I'd like you to take into consideration that once you close these schools, they will never be reopened. Thank you.
Christy Devine and Denise Eugenio.
Good evening. I wanted to start with praise about how amazing Mount George is, its students, its parents, its community. I wanted to hammer home facts and recite numbers, but as I've continued to watch the development around the discussion of school closures, I think what's really important is that we talk about our ethical and moral responsibility. As board members of the NVUSD, your most important constituents are the ones that can't even vote for you. You represent our children. Your choices can affect their opportunity, their community, their friendships, even some of their hopes and dreams. We look to you to help navigate the convoluted waters of public education, and we expect you to make the best decisions and that every choice you make, you follow the NVUSD philosophy. I'm happy to remind you of it now. We must help students develop communication, conflict resolution, and responsible decision-making skills to develop skills such as flexibility, adaptability, initiative, and self-direction, social and cross-cultural skills, leadership and ethics, personal and social responsibility, respectful and reflective. A lot of the things that the girls before me echoed in the Mount George program. I wonder what parts of those philosophies were being used when I felt like there were incomplete answers and mistruths in some of the 7-Eleven inquiries, especially around enrollment around Mount George. It's hard to take what people say as fact and as truth, and I understand a lot of us have come to our own conclusions, but Mount George has been stable in terms of its enrollment. The decline in enrollment has happened in the past 2 years with issues with open enrollment. When you have names of people and children that found out a day or two before that they were allowed to get into Mount George but chose their second school, I think we have a problem. I wonder if our leadership and social responsibility was being utilized when we bypassed California's best practices for school closures with the 7-Eleven committee and used other measures than the ones that are within the guidelines. I don't know about you, but I'm not a fan of evasive tactics to get the outcome that I desire. I believe the board doesn't want to close a top-performing school. I don't think you want your legacy to be taking the easy way out, to not have been able to dig a little deeper and get creative. I don't think you want to let our children down. You found yourselves in a unique position to change the narrative around school closures and specifically around the Napa Valley School Board. I stand here as a parent who wants all of our students to be represented. I want any child who wants to attend Mount George to have the resources that they need to do so. I may not have a lot of money, but what I do have is connections. Do we have sign-up centers for open enrollment with Spanish and English-speaking volunteers who can guide parents through the process? Have we partnered with advocacy groups to ensure that we are reaching out to those who maybe haven't been reached out to before? I know Mount George has requested funds for an ESL class in the past, but was denied. I hope you all take into consideration what everyone has brought before you and continue to fight for Mount George to stay open. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Denise Eugenio. My daughter McKenna goes to Mount George and she's in the 1st grade. I'm going to talk about something a little heavy and a little bit more global perspective. Our world is changing at a very rapid pace, and we need to make sure that our curriculum in schools keeps up with that. There are a lot of complex issues that we're facing today, and they're probably going to be even more complex later on. And we need to make sure that students are equipped to have that mindset to solve these issues. Mount George directly aligns with the vision and goals of the board and the school district in providing a 21st century education to make sure that kids are equipped with 21st century skills. It's very important that we do not take this away, especially because some would argue that it's very costly to keep Mount George. But I personally would argue that we cannot afford to lose the school, especially with the program that we have in place. It is directly aligned with our goals. Let's remember that. Please remember your vision. I am also a resident of the Coombsville community. And when we talk about impacts of closing the school, Mount George is in my neighborhood. It is my neighborhood school and also the neighborhood school and many students there. It is an institution that has been there for a very long time and a legacy. And really, I'm here to make sure that we're protecting and preserving this legacy here. A lot of us who live in the area bought our home there for a reason. We want to embrace that ag culture that Napa is fundamentally known for. And that's part of the school, the curriculum. It's not just the program, but then also the site location, that ag culture. And that's really what I also want to preserve. Thank you very much for listening. I really hope you take into consideration making sure that we keep Mount George open, preserving it for the future, and making sure that our students have this 21st century skills and education. Thank you.
April Damon, and Francisco Torres.
Could you not understand? Could you not read the Mallory Macedo?
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Yes.
Just making sure. I saw you contemplating.
Hello, good evening. My name is April Dameron. I have a 5th grader and a 1st grader at Mount George. I wanted to speak to you tonight about school choice. So I like choice. I like it a lot. And as a woman and as a parent, I expect choice. As a young woman, I studied marine biology, and I actually traveled the world aboard a ship based right here in Vallejo, the Golden Bear. And through these travels to Peru and Chile and Japan, I even went to Easter Island, one of the few people to have seen a moai. And through these travels, I fell in love with language. I was jealous that I was not bilingual. I fell in love with just the world and international studies. As a young single woman before children, I went to Europe twice. To see Poland, Italy, etc. And so when I was given the choice for schools for my now 5th grader, I was excited to look into schools that offered Spanish. And those were my two top choices. I got into Mount George and have embraced the fact that my child has learned an international-based program, as well as been introduced to Spanish classes. Earlier today and throughout the week, I've been on the NVUSD website, specifically on the open enrollment page, because I'm now trying to plan ahead in case my 1st grader needs to find a new school. That's just how I work. I'd like to plan. And there was a big friendly graphic that stated, I heart school choice. I love school choice. I was on the webpage trying to understand how the process has changed since I open enrolled my now 5th grader in kindergarten over 6 years ago. And I was like saddened to see this graphic because I feel like the choices are being taken away from me and my family. I have since done some research and provided a visual to you. On one side, you'll see a simple map that you pull up if you just type in greatschools.org that shows what Napa schools look like. Some of it's even a little dated, but just so you have a feeling of, what people might be looking for who are considering relocating to Napa. On the other side, I've started crossing out my options. If Mount George is closed, my first choice, clearly not an option. I contacted Stonebridge. They said the only way that there was a space for my child was if somebody else moved. Very rare does that happen. If not, maybe one spot could be opened. I talked about NVLA and Pueblo Vista, not an option for my child. As you can see from this map, I really don't have a choice. Thank you.
Spanish. Buenas noches. Nosotros somos residentes del área de la escuela Mount George.
Hello, we are residents. Disculpe, le voy a interpretar, así que si gusta hablar y luego yo a interpretar lo que usted dice.
Sí, nosotros estamos residentes de la escuela de Mount George.
We are residents of Mount George.
No hemos encontrado amigos, sino una familia.
We have found not only friends but a family.
Sabemos que nosotros somos pocos latinos en la área.
We know that it's very
apoyar a la
disculpe si me deja interpretar, así puedo agarrar todo lo que dice, okay? ¿Puede comenzar otra vez, por favor?
Nosotros somos pocos latinos en la comunidad,
Okay.
pero venimos a apoyarlos.
Okay. We are a few Latinos in the community, but we are here to support.
Porque también en la escuela le enseñan a mi hijo los dos idiomas.
Because also in the school, they teach my child both languages.
Es una buena oportunidad para ellos y para nosotros como padres de familia.
It is a good opportunity for them and for us as family.
Tanto como para nosotros los latinos como ustedes mexicanos.
As for us Latinos, as for Caucasians.
El próximo año, mi próximo niño, tenemos la idea de meterlos juntos a la misma escuela. Ahorita los tenemos separados y queremos juntarlos.
Okay. Next year, my youngest child will be attending school, and we hope to keep them together.
Como les repito, mis niños están familiarizados con Mount George, so ellos quieren continuar y que la escuela esté abierta y esperemos que pueda lograr en un futuro.
My children are familiar with Mount George, and we hope that they can stay there.
Pues es todo. Muchísimas gracias.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Mallory Macedo, Jen Heim.
My apologies for the scribbles.
That's okay.
Good evening. Thank you for your time, and thank you for taking the time to listen to what I have to say. I am here to support Mount George remaining open and continuing the program that we have there on that campus. We have a very successful IB program, the International Baccalaureate, that is highly rated within NVUSD, and we are personally already aligned to the strategic plan that NVUSD has today. So our International Baccalaureate trained teachers use innovative methods that are just now beginning to be used at other elementary schools throughout the district. So they have been used, we adopted the Bridges Mathematics program over a decade before the district adopted it, for example. So I'm urging you to, my comment card said creative ways to save money outside of school closures. So I'm urging you to look at the financial picture closer. And here are a couple of ways that I'm recommending from my seat in the room. So first of all, I want to talk about the district cost per average per student. So that's, according to the SARC data, $6,200 per student in the district. And at Mount George, we're under $6,000. There are 6 schools, 6 elementary schools specifically in the district, where the per student cost is more than Mount George, including larger schools in the district. Those 6 schools are West Park, Puebla Vista, Yountville, Phillips, Shearer, and Willow. So that's one of the ways to say that Mount George is already saving money. There's already 6 campuses that are costing more money for the district right now per student per head. The other item that I want to talk about is the CEP program, which is the Community Eligibility Program for free and reduced lunch at McPherson, Snow, Shearer, and Phillips. So currently they provide breakfast and lunch at no cost for all students at the school without income qualifications, without paperwork, without an application. So based on the socioeconomic disqualified percentages that have been posted, there are 211 students across those 4 campuses that are getting free breakfast and lunch daily that do not qualify based on the socioeconomic data that the district has posted. So if you take 211 students per day across all 4 campuses, you times it by $6 per day, that's $1,266. And then you times that by 180 school days, that is $227,880 for 1 year, based on application process only. So that's another way that I'm recommending you guys look into. The other one that was mentioned, or the other one based on research, is that I looked up a letter between Dominic Dutra, who's a real estate developer that the district has hired, and Rob Manguala, our CBO, from June 15th, where it's referencing the Vintage Farm sale. And it specifically says, and I quote, "The approximate 8 to 9 million derived from the sale of the property at 1185 Sierra Avenue can be used to, 1, address the current budget deficit, start parentheses, via a waiver from State Allocation Board and or Department of Education, end parentheses." Please take time to look into these items. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jen Heim, and I am the mom of Nora Heim, who spoke to you guys a few weeks ago in American Canyon. She's a 2nd grader at Mount George Elementary. You are the elected officials entrusted with governing the Napa Valley Unified School District. Your role as the school board is to ensure that this district is responsive to the values, beliefs, and priorities of our community. Boards fulfill this role by performing 5 major responsibilities. Your first responsibility is establishing an effective and efficient structure. We have a huge problem on our hands. Our district is at a high risk for a state government takeover. We cannot allow that to happen. However, as a board, you can't establish an effective or efficient structure based on outdated and erroneous data. How can you say that shutting down Mount George and Yountville will save you $1 million when you haven't provided the breakdown on how you will get to that projection? Where is the transparency that we've been speaking of? Your second responsibility is ensuring accountability. The district has been taking out tax revenue anticipation notes annually for cash flow. The issuance of this debt is expensive to the district general fund. The FCMAT reports dating back to 2014 state that Napa Unified has been issuing trans continuously. This practice is not efficient cash management, it is not normal, and is a significant expense to the district. Where is the district's accountability, and how does shutting down 2 schools ensure appropriate cash management for our community's future? The third responsibility is providing community leadership as advocates for our children, the school district, and public schools. Tonight, I am asking you to step up to the plate and be the leaders and advocates we have entrusted you to be. Making a decision to close a school in 6 months based on 6 years of deficit spending is not being an advocate to our hardworking teachers, our staff, and it is not being a leader to displace our children who are thriving in their current IB environment. The fourth and fifth responsibility is providing support and setting direction. Let's set a new direction right now. Let's start making the right decisions for the sustainability of this district. We have local foundations that have offered to step in and help. The district could go out for a general obligation bond and use those proceeds to pay off the capital appreciation debt, which is on the books of the district. School closure doesn't need to be the end of this story. These 5 responsibilities represent the core functions that are fundamental to a school system's accountability to the public, and they can only be performed by you. I ask that you leave here tonight and start working together as an elected governance team with Dr. Musetti and make decisions that will best serve the students in this community. Closing these schools is short-sighted and is simply a Band-Aid that won't stick. There is only one decision to be made here, and that is not to close down our schools. And that is your most important responsibility. Thank you.
James Stewart and Francisco Torres.
Hi, my name is James Stewart. I went to Mount George Elementary School. I'm a 7th grader, now at Silverado. Now that I'm in middle school, I've realized how Mount George has prepared me for middle school. Mount George is truly special to me and so many more. Our IB program has taught me how to be a leader and a thinker, which has helped me immensely in middle school. And I've made this video for you guys to see how special Mount George truly is to me and to so many more.
Welcome to Mount George!
dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. true. Ooh, someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where trouble melts like lemon drops high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere bluebirds fly, and the dream that you dare to, oh why can't I? Oh, someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where trouble melts like a lemon drop high above the chimney top. That's where you find me.
Francisco Torres?
If you guys want to try on these lipsticks in real life, obviously check out your nearest MAC counter.
Aiden Divine Ojonio and Sabrina Wolfson.
Well, it's hard to follow that one up. Good evening, I'm Sabrina Wolfson, and I'm the mother of a first grader at Mount George Elementary, and I'm here tonight to urge you to keep Mount George open. I've done a lot of research about this issue, and most recently decided to look back at the 2010 October 8th, 2010 board meeting, which was the last time that the proposed closure of Mount George was discussed. As I wanted to see, what the discussion was at the time and what the rationale was for keeping Mount George open at that time. And at the time, there was a proposed plan. It was a master facilities plan, and there were 2 phases. And Mount George was considered part of the second phase, and part of the second phase was acknowledging that there was going to be a lot of development on the southeast side of Napa, and that there may need to be a new school constructed there on the southeast side in order to accommodate the new development. But at the time that staff indicated that at the time, if the district could not build the school because there wasn't a site available, that there was room to expand Mount George, and that Mount George could be expanded to either be an overflow school or an open enrollment school for heavily impacted schools on the southeast side. So during that meeting, then Superintendent Glazier, who was the superintendent at the time, went on to state that Mount George should be taken off the table for closure because there wasn't a property available to add an additional school site, and that it was certain that development would occur on the southeast side of Napa, and that Mount George was needed in order to accommodate that development. And he also said that, Mount George should be kept open because Mount George had an established IB program. And at that time, it was only 4 years in. And he also stated that the district needed to be prepared to expand the facilities on the campus to accommodate future growth. And Don Evans at the time said that that was a possibility. So these same reasons still apply today for keeping Mount George open. The development on the southeast side is no longer just a possibility, it's a reality. There's 357 multifamily units, 75 of which are affordable, that are coming online this year. Then there's going to be 945 more units, 140 of which are affordable for the Napa pipe, and up to another 200 as part of the Gasser Master Plan. Southeast Napa is the only place that will experience this growth, and it doesn't make sense to close a school in the area without any new schools coming online. Mount George has the capacity to expand, and by adding one more portable, we could get to the ideal number of 350. We've given you more reasons and data to keep Mount George open than staff has given for closing Mount George. Please keep Mount George open, grow it, diversify it, so that more students can benefit from our special school. Thank you.
Thank you. 'Cause I don't know. 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 'C Jason Hutchings.
I just want to first say that the two ladies that came up were amazing, and that was a great video. You guys are awesome. Vice President Martine, esteemed trustees, Dr. Massetti, staff, thank you for your time tonight. I just wanted to take a moment, or I guess two and a half minutes here to just remind the trustees to stay consistent with their strategic plan and the goals set forth in that plan. Just from what I've seen here the past few months, I've noticed that it seems as though the staff has not been consistent with the goals set out in that plan. Just to give a couple examples, or a few examples here. As you well know, number 3, or the goal number 3 of that plan, is to promote robust communication, community engagement, and advocacy. Number 3.1b is to practice proactive social relations. Number 3.2d is to provide and participate in varied forums for public engagement and feedback. Section 2 of goal number 3 is two-way, inclusive, and user-friendly stakeholder engagement. But to be honest with you, ever since this plan was implemented in December of 2018, I can think of a number of times that the Yountville community has reached out to the staff, and there has been no response. And that was before we even knew of a school closure. We understood that there was a new superintendent in the district, and I just want to mention I'm the president of the Little League in Yountville. I'm a resident. My son is a first grader there at Yountville Elementary School. From a league standpoint, we reached out to the superintendent a number of times and got no response. The first time we got any kind of engagement from district staff was the meeting that was ironically on September 11th of this year. And I say ironically because, if we close Yountville, that's going to make that property there basically the ground zero of our community. So to me, it was a little disrespectful. I think that was the first chance we got to interact with district staff in that sort of forum. Another goal set forth is thoughtful, let me get down here. Number 3B, to empower staff to build strong relations through high trust strategies. You've lost our trust as far as the staff. The staff has lost our trust in Yountville. I just implore the trustees not to lose our trust. You can sell assets, but you can't buy trust. And once it's gone, just like Yountville Elementary School, if it's gone, it's going to be gone as a public school forever. So let's keep the public schools open. Thank you.
Deb Wallace and Jim Bowie.
Good evening, NVUSD Board of Trustees, Superintendent Massetti, and district staff. I'm Deborah Wallace, Executive Director of Tree of Life International Charter School in Anderson in the North State. I'm here tonight to give historical context and to thank the board for their continuous support of the NVLA Charter for the past 24 years. I was born in Napa, attended Sheer Ridgeview and Napa High. I started learning Spanish at Sheer when I became jealous that some of my classmates were already bilingual, coming from Spanish-speaking homes, and I somehow decided that I was going to do the same. In 1989, I had the privilege of being one of the first group of bilingual teachers hired when the district received a Title VII grant to begin bilingual ed at 3 schools, Sheer, McPherson, and Westwood Elementary. At Westwood, we quickly realized that early exit bilingual ed was not the answer for our students, as our Spanish speakers continued with low achievement and low self-esteem. English speakers continued to open roll out of the school in droves. We began to look for other models and discovered two-way bilingual immersion. And in 1994, the NVUSD board voted to allow the school to begin this brave new endeavor and give Napa Valley parents a choice. In 1995, with the support of then Director of Elementary Ed Karen Hancock, the school wrote and received a Title VII grant for $1.5 million to fully implement dual immersion. In 97, with passage of Prop 227, the parents and staff together wrote a charter petition to continue the program, and the NVUSD board again shared the vision and voted their full support. Westwood Elementary School became Napa Valley Language Academy. With intentionality, we set to work creating a model dual immersion program with a dynamic, integrated school community that brought families from the richest part of town all the way over to the poorest part of town to have their children learn from one another and bond in a way Napa had never seen before. Dr. Glazer called NVLA the lighthouse for NVUSD. As we watched the neighborhood change and crime and gang involvement diminish, as parents saw their language and culture embraced and valued by mainstream English-speaking Napans, we all watched other district schools become more and more segregated into high-income, all-white enclaves, and even those former bilingual schools became all Hispanic, English-only schools, while many English speakers in those same neighborhoods chose to drive their children to NVLA. NVLA, as a charter school, was able to manage their own budget and thus have full ownership of their mission and goals. NVLA parents were empowered to start a nonprofit public benefit corp to support the school and give all children the opportunities that are typically only for the wealthy. NVLA managed their budget well, met their own charter priorities while still being held accountable for every other district and state priority. And NVLA continues to show a healthy budget by their 3-year projections. Over the 25 years I was at the school, there were many rocky times for NVLA and the district, always coinciding with district fiscal concerns. The district looks toward charter schools to see how to recapture revenues by such avenues as raising the rent, charging more per square foot, creating new formulas for buybacks that the school had no option to opt out of, and charging more for services the school doesn't even use. I guess I need to stop. So I just want to say that I know you have a treasure. You know you have a treasure in Napa Valley Language Academy, a model dual immersion program, an incredible leader and Principal Uribe. And I just want to ask you to continue to do all that it takes to keep that lighthouse beacon burning bright. Thank you, Board of Trustees.
Good evening, trustees. My name is Jim Bowie, and I have a first grader at NVLA as well as an 8th grader at Harvest Middle School. I'm here to ask you for your continued commitment in NVLA's charter. I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's a rumor around the community that NVLA is losing its charter. I encourage the board to make it clear that the board has no intention to reneging on the contract that was approved and applauded by the board here 18 months ago. NVLA is a phenomenal school. It's one of the most culturally integrated elementary schools here in the Valley. It's also the most socially and economically integrated. No matter where you're from or what your family economic situation is, NVLA is offering a great education. Every year, we've got a long wait list, sometimes in the hundreds, for students to join NVLA. In addition to our dual immersion program, students at NVLA also learn a third language. I'm not sure if you're aware. They've either get to choose from Japanese, sign language, Italian, or French. In addition to our robust language program, we've also got a robust music program. Every single kinder starts off with violin. So no matter what your economic background is, every student that goes through NVLA starts with violin all the way through 6. Our after-school program is 100% free. Our parents provide a phenomenal fundraiser so that we can actually provide chess, Lego robotics, ballet folklorio, art. There's no cost for any student in the school. NVLA offers an excellent education, and as I stated earlier, I encourage the board to renew your commitment in NVLA's charter. Thank you.
Those are all the cards I have for this evening. Board of Education and Student Board representative reports.
I actually have a few this week. All high schools are currently in the process of college applications for seniors. Myself, I'm looking into the JC. And Valley Oak welcomed new students today for this first progress report. And Napa High and Valley Oak were part of the walk to end Alzheimer's on September 14 in Yountville. And I attended that also. It was a great experience. And Napa High is having their college visits on campus this week, so that's a good opportunity for the seniors. And Vintage and Napa are waiting for their homecoming week. And Vintage is having their fall choir concert on October 16th, and I'm looking forward to attending that. And they are also having college campus tour signups. And American Canyon is having a PSAT exam on October 16th, and it's being offered to all 11th graders free of charge. And they're also having their homecoming week, and they're having college visits next week as well.
So it's been a busy couple weeks here. On the 17th, I attended the 7-Eleven committee to hear what the people from the community had to say and see what the committee was going to recommend. On the 20th and 21st, I was working on our strategic goal 6 to help improve the governance. To help improve the governance of NVUSD, I went to a Master's in Governance class and learned some valuable things that I hope that we might be able to try in our district here. And then on the 24th, I attended the community engagement meeting hosted by Dr. Massetti at Alta Heights surrounding the possible consolidation of Mount George with Alta Heights. On the 25th, I attended the district branding meeting where we began the process of trying to figure out how to consistently message our district successes to the public. And then today, I attended a workshop on interest-based problem solving to get a better feel for how issues are resolved in the district with regard to employee-employer relations.
I attended the Napa County Administrators Association, where the invited speaker was Tony Thurman, the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, as the guest speaker. The Napa County Administrators Association is the local affiliate of AXA, which I think many of the board is more familiar with. And I too attended today's interest-based problem-solving training session.
I too attended the 7-Eleven committee meeting where I'm so loud. Okay, sorry if I'm too loud. The committee voted 9-2 to make an advisory recommendation to close Mount George and Yountville schools, but a final report with specific recommendations will be issued to the board at the next 7-Eleven committee meeting on October 1st. I too attended the MIG governance training on Friday and Saturday at the Sonoma County Office of Education, which, if you ever have nothing else to do, is really a lovely facility. The classes we attended were Foundations of Effective Governance, Setting Direction, Student Learning and Achievement, and Policy and Judicial Review, which actually was my favorite content section, much to my surprise. And our next training will be focused on school finance, as well as collective bargaining and HR. David and I apparently spent a lot of time together this last week. I also went to the branding committee meeting where we had a robust meeting regarding marketing and branding of the district. The committee is comprised of a very diverse group of stakeholders that will exchange ideas and discuss the opportunity of telling our story of the district to our community. And then I filled the balance of my week with a multitude of one-on-one parent meetings, and those are continuing into next week.
Well, I too went to hear Tony Thurman speak. And I was glad I went. He's actually he's fun, interesting, with, as they say, a compelling personal history. He owes it all to education. He grew up in what he said were very deprived circumstances. Now, I also went to the 7-Eleven committee meeting on the 17th. I also went to the Masters in Governance training where I learned if somebody jumps on me and surprises me with a question, the best thing to do is say, oh, I need to check board policy on that. And I went to, I've been to Silverado Middle School a couple of times, and yesterday I was really glad I went because we've talked a lot about restorative justice and the need for, some teachers have felt they needed a little bit of retooling. And the speaker there was a very dynamic person who wouldn't let me photograph her PowerPoint. And she is from the International Institute for Restorative Practices. And I just sat in and listened while the staff, was doing the training. And, I found it very valuable. I really thought that, she had a lot to offer. And apparently this is going to be spreading out. So, yeah, Karen Junker. Yeah, it was really good. I was glad I went. And I too have been peppered with emails, and I'm doing my best to answer them. And I've actually enjoyed the interaction. People have been very nice. A lot of them I've bobbed back with a statement, and they've come back and thanked me. And it's fine. I enjoy it. Thank you very much for communicating with us.
Good evening. I want to thank the Mount George communities, Yountville, American Canyon for the many emails, calls. I've also been doing one-on-ones with a few constituents. With that mention of American Canyon, I also wanted to formally take a moment to apologize as a trustee individually that we had various cards going through our open session last time that we were in American Canyon. And I don't know what came over me. Maybe I was nervous or what have you, but we could have moved our agenda item closer to pretty much acknowledge our students, our parents, our staff. Our meeting went into the very early bits of the morning, so we're talking about 12 o'clock a.m. So I did want to formally apologize to the community of American Canyon for that. But should it be known that we would move items of that magnitude or cards forward, and that would be our trustees letting us know, we have students in the crowd. I too, I wasn't present at our 7-Eleven committee, but I watched it online, and the 4 hours and some odd minutes that it actually took me about 8.5 hours to watch during my work hours. So it was very much present throughout my entire day. And so that really concludes. I'm glad everyone is enjoying the MIG courses. So I fulfilled.
I used the word internet. I'm not sure that I used that.
Well, the recommendation was, at least my part, was for some of the trustees to join the MIG courses. I did it my first year. It was very enlightening because there was, of course, a huge educational learning curve as soon as I joined the board. So I wanted to make sure I had enough information or stuff to back me up. I said stuff because it's a lot of information. So I thank you guys for doing that. And I wish Jose Hurtado's not with us today, have his mom in his prayers, and Miss Elba is out sick today.
So good evening, everyone. I have a few things to report. The last couple of weeks in the district have been really, really busy. We just have, that launch to school, and we're about to enter the depths of October, right? Those are long months, and soon we'll have the holiday season in front of us, but we know that in the classroom, October is a great solid month of learning. So it's been great to just continue to visit schools and see our teachers in action supporting our students. Last night, I had the joy for the second year in a row to attend the Safeway Open, the opening night dinner, sponsored by Chevron, who for the second year in a row has awarded the school district with a $100,000 grant. Last year they funded mobile science carts with science labs, vis-a-vis carts, at several of our elementary schools, and that was exciting implementation at those sites over the course of the last year. And this year, they wanted to focus on college readiness and career readiness and a focus on secondary schools. So last night, I went to the dinner and the opening ceremony where we were awarded a $101,000 check that will be going directly to high school seniors to fund their college experience next year. And Chevron committed for any awardees, scholarship awardees, that they will continue the scholarship as long as the students stay in good standing for 4 years of their time at the university level. So we are very grateful for those types of experiences. And the Education Foundation, I was there with Jennifer Stewart, the executive director of our Education Foundation, who will be administering the scholarship program for us. And so quickly, she and I, Assistant Superintendent Marianne Valles, the high school principals, will be putting together a scholarship selection committee to disperse that to our high school seniors in the spring across the district. So that's very, very exciting, and we're just grateful to have received that. Aligns nicely with our strategic plan. On Tuesday afternoon, I did spend the afternoon at Browns Valley. And I'm sorry. I wanted to appreciate Trustee Martin's suggestion to honor 6-year-old Addie Dominici, who was a first grader at Browns Valley, who we all, many of us know passed away over the weekend. And I got to spend time in her classroom. Principal Frank Silva was very, very gracious. He took over the classroom in the afternoon. So I had the time to spend some moments with the teacher who shared with me some of Addie's artwork that was completed and some of her work that was done the week prior. And I just, I visited the first grade classrooms. Obviously, the first grade team was hit very hard. The whole school community was obviously hit very hard by this tragic loss. And I just have to commend the community, the parent community, the staff, faculty community, and the student community at Browns Valley for coming together in the way that they have to honor Addie. I saw the school project that they've done. They're ensuring that her spirit lives on through some work to fund schools, across the globe, and have pen pals in her honor. Just a real shift to sort of action to make sure that her spirit continues to live here in our community. And so I just want to honor and recognize Browns Valley for their strength and their courage. And, of course, our condolences to the Dominici family. I think on behalf of my team, we send those out. I also met in the last couple of weeks with Isabel Martin, and she is a New Tech High student, a colleague of a couple of the students that were here at the podium, a student colleague, and she is going to serve as the potential chair for the school district's committee around the Schools for Climate Action Change at the district level that we committed to through a board resolution that was passed late spring of last year. So Isabel and myself are mapping out the scope and sequence. She understands that the district right now is working on the financial stabilization projects and that staff is fairly consumed with the 7-11 committee process. But soon, most likely, right before the winter break, we will launch some of that work in alignment with the tasks that are outlined in the resolution that was passed by our school board. So we look forward to that. And then, as some of the trustees mentioned, I was at Willow and Alta Heights. We did sort of a first round, preliminary round of community engagement with Willow and Alta Heights around the potential of consolidation in the students who are currently at Mount George and Yountville coming over and being part of those school communities for the 2021 school year if indeed the school board takes action on closure and action on potential consolidation. Similar to my experience when I went out to the Mount George community and to the Yountville community in advance of meeting 3 of the 7-11 committee, I gained tremendous insights and input from those communities, and it was very it was great to see the willingness from the Willow parents, and some of the faculty were there. Similarly, Alta Heights families and staff, the willingness for the potential of their schools growing if indeed the school board takes action around closure. And so I wanted to thank them for their attendance and participation those evenings, and their engagement and their honest feedback around some next steps and recommendations around potential implementation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'd like to add on to Student Trustee Alondra's message about the PSAT at ACHS. It's actually going to happen at all of our high schools. So all 11th graders will be taking the PSAT on October 16th during the school day, which is a big deal. Many students take the PSAT opt-in on a Saturday, but we're putting all 11th graders to take the PSAT on the 16th. So we're really excited about the first ever PSAT for all in Napa Valley Unified. Another highlight is, as you know, the Professional Learning Day is fast approaching on October 11th. And last week we launched our sign-up kind of website for staff. And to date, we have 641 staff members who already signed up for workshops. We have 85 unique training topics and 141 workshop sessions across the day. So it will have teachers or participants will have 3 90-minute sessions, and they're selecting those sessions now. And so we're really excited. It feels a little over the top to call it historic, but it really does feel very historic to have a day like this for our staff to come together and learn together. It is certainly the work of many people, not only in instruction, but across the division to put something like this together. We want to thank American Canyon High School because they will be our host site and have given us a lot of attention and time to make sure that we're well prepared for the day. The next thing I'd like to share is relative to something that we may not have shared with the board in the past, but we do participate in student internships. Across the 2018-19 school year, 130 NVUSD students participated in internships in industries here in the Valley, ranging from wineries, hotels, law offices, healthcare, and more. And this year we have 30 additional employers who have opened themselves up to take in interns, so we'll be able to grow the intern opportunity for our secondary students. And finally, I think I need a drum roll for this, so imagine one right now when I introduce this. Yay! So as we sunset the Arts Integration Grant, which ends actually on Monday, on September 30th, the federal grants, what follows the federal grant calendar, I have some exciting news to share. As we sprint to the finish of the Arts Integration Grant, over $150,000 worth of music instruments are arriving at the warehouse like today. And this represents purchases worthy of $28,000 worth of instruments for high school and $12,000 worth of instruments at the middle school level. And they include new timpani, these are kettle drums for Vintage and Redwood Middle School, 4 sousaphones, which are marching tubas for our high schools, 4 tubas for our middle school orchestra program, and 3 bassoons. These instruments arrived actually today. They are going to get asset tagged and distributed to the schools next week. Everybody's super excited. Yep. But there's more. I have sheet music too. So listen to this. With weekend work on the part of many folks who kind of like stepped into high gear, our music directors, special support from accounting, and our own Sandra DiMatteo, who works as a clerical support in the instructional division. The final purchase of this grant $22,000 in sheet music for our secondary music programs, including instrumental and vocal programs. Each high school received $4,000 to split between their band and choir programs, and each middle school received $2,000. Requisitions are in process today. We expect POs tomorrow, one day before the grant deadline. Yay. That concludes my report. Thank you.
How do I follow something like that, like sheet music? That's that's wonderful, making a difference. Yeah, very nice. So since we last met, a couple things to chat about. So we've been working on a variety of finance-related projects. Obviously, with the business office, it's finance-related usually. So one of the big things we've been working on, again, looking at our numbers, we have also had to have a meeting with Moody's to discuss our credit rating. You'll see that as an informational item in tonight's report. They do discuss our need to continue the work that we're doing in terms of tightening up our budget. There's some concerns expressed about our sustainability and declining enrollment and so forth, and so that is in tonight's report. We also welcome Manuel Ruiz, our Chief Technology Officer. He's been working diligently on some of our bond-related technology projects, such as the rollout of our Promethean boards and Chromebooks. I don't know if you noticed, but he also arranged to have a new projector put in here at our last board meeting. It was completely broken. That's why we have the Promethean board over there. And it's a multi-step project, but at least we have the projector up. There will be a screen also. With that addition, families will have the ability to actually watch our videos from home and actually see what's on the screen. The last couple of videos, we definitely noticed that it was completely whited out, and so we're trying to improve that. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I want to share that today HR team, Maren Roca-Hunt and myself, were busy with our NVEA president and chief negotiators, Gail Young and Courtney Garcia, in delivering interest-based problem-solving training. And this is an opportunity to work on Goal 2, which is effective employee relations and resource management, specifically supporting collaborative work relationships in our district through interest-based problem solving, which is formalized in our collective bargaining and agreements. We do training every year to make sure that we're training as many representatives and employees as possible in this, both it's a protocol, but also a mindset around how do we come together to solve problems effectively, have healthy conflict resolution, and build strong relationships through this process and through this work so that we can be a high-performing organization. It was something that, a little piece of history we do in this training is that we weren't always like this. Prior to 1985, when there was a pretty tragic event that impacted the bargaining team, it was very traditional and contentious sometimes in our negotiations with our labor unions here. And in 1985, when this event happened, people just paused and took stock and said there should be a better way to interact with our groups, and they found interest-based problem solving. So we're very grateful that they did, and we want to continue to nurture that and spread that through our organization. What was really exciting for me about today was that we really expanded, we thought, and addressed Goal 5 about having equity center leadership that is really inclusive in our whole entire organizational culture. And we were sure to invite our CSCA members and their leadership team, and our NAPS members and leadership team. We had board members there, thank you very much. We had managers, we had teachers. We had the most diverse group we've ever had, and people responded very well. And I'm really encouraged because they've asked for more training, more opportunities to practice. So I believe that we are really building on a firm foundation of positive relations and problem solving, and that we continue to do more work in this area. So that was a pleasure today.
Good evening, and Vice President Martin, trustees, and Dr. Massetti and community members. Thank you for the opportunity to provide you with an update of operational services. The NVUSD maintenance grounds and custodial employees continue to maintain a strong partnership to ensure all students can learn at high levels by providing a safe and well-maintained classroom and campus environment. Also together, we've brought our work orders down significantly in the past 4 weeks. If you don't know, We start the summertime with, a fair amount of work orders, but as soon as the teachers arrive on August 1st, our work orders just skyrocket over 1,000. And so then, we work diligently to get them down. So that's why I commented on that. And lastly, we placed a strong emphasis on employee safety by instituting monthly and sometimes bi-monthly safety meetings ranging from chemical use and disposal, boom lift training, use of ladders, and fire extinguishers to make sure our employees are safe at all times. In food service, the menu offerings continue to exhibit a wide selection of nutritious meals. For instance, tomorrow is veggie wrap or combo sub at the secondary level, and at the elementary level, you can get an all-beef hot dog or a combo sub. I plan to partake in one of those. Food service has also been doing barbecue options. They do this twice a year, and so they've been hitting the elementary schools pretty hard. This week, they were at Northwood, and tomorrow they're at Willow Elementary School. And the food service staff is working hard to continue to deliver the best food possible to our students in NVUSD. Food service also has some things to really celebrate. On Tuesday, it was Food Day at the Napa Valley Farmers Market. They had a booth and they sampled out veggies to the 6 schools that visited for field trips, as well as marketed our food programs to the community. Today, they had guests from the California Department of Food and Agriculture, spending the day with them filming a short film to be released next month for Farm to School Month. And our program was the only school district in the state to be featured in this film. And next week, food service begins a 10-day assessment as part of the Chef Ann Foundation's Get Schools Cooking Grant that we are in our second year of. This is a support grant that's valued at over $260,000. It looks at all the areas of food services department, including finances, staffing, HR, marketing, procurement, and cooking. So we're looking forward to seeing Chef Ann. I personally have never met her, but I'm going to get the honor to meet her next week. In transportation, back in about a year and a half ago, in July of 2018, transportation applied for the Carl Moyer Grant from the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. This program is sponsored by the California Air Resources Board. They provide grant money to replace existing buses with new buses that have cleaner burning engines. Depending upon the miles the vehicle is used, age of the vehicle, and the type of the engine the vehicle has, the district could receive up to full funding for the new buses. NVUSD received 86% of the funding, so the portion of NVUSD's portion to purchase 3 new buses will only be $95,000, which will be significantly less than when it cost us to maintain these 3 buses. So that means that the grant, the portion that we'll receive is $568,000. So that's a significant savings. So happy to report on that, and thank you to transportation. And then finally, in school planning and construction, we recently received some excellent news from the Office of Public School Construction. Staff has been working diligently on the facilities hardship application through the Office of Public School Construction, specifically for the Snow Elementary School earthquake seismic work funded through Measure H. And the Office of Public School Construction has notified staff that we have secured approximately $7.9 million in facilities hardship funding through the Office of the Public School Construction. So now the school planning instruction is now attempting to make the fall agenda with OPSC for a funding release in hopefully late spring, early summer of 2020. So this is great news for our capital improvements at our school sites. And lastly, as I reported at the board meeting last month, the operational services team, all the directors and assistant directors, they meet on a weekly basis with me. We use the NVUSD strategic plan to guide as our guiding document at our meetings. And we are continuing to learn right now about how we can better manage our employees. So that's really exciting news for our department. Now I'd like to introduce Kelly Jurgensen from Van Pelt Construction Services. Kelly oversees the implementation of the NVUSD Measure H bond program, and Kelly will be discussing some of the work on our facilities to date. Thank you.
Vice President Martin, trustees, Dr. Massetti, thank you for having me. Today what I'm going to do is share some incremental milestones in our bond program. I think a lot of the time we're working at a breakneck speed at SPC, trying to implement as much construction as we can as fast as possible to help the district. But sometimes it's nice to take a little break, take a breath, and celebrate the small victories. So as you know, the Division of the State Architect is the agency at the state that we work with on a very regular basis, from the design all the way to the completion of our projects. So today I'd like to share that Willow Elementary got final sign-off from the Division of the State Architect to close that project. It means we filed all of our paperwork correctly, all of our inspections are accurate, and the state considers it a closed project. So that was a nice milestone to achieve. Additionally, for our second phase of the finishing kitchens, we've received initial comments on design. So we're on our way to that stamp out for approval of design for phase 2 of finishing kitchens. So we got a milestone at the end of construction and then a milestone in design. In addition to that, I'll give you all a save the date for October 21st for the official ribbon cutting at Snow Elementary School. So we'll be there celebrating and cutting ribbons and seeing performances from the Snow students, hearing from Olivia McCormick and her staff. So we're really excited about that. So that's it. Thank you.
Oh, I'll add one thing. They're moving a bunch of dirt down at the new Napa Junction site.
I wanted to welcome Manuel Reese. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome. Okay, approval of consent agenda. Background information on these items is provided to the board prior to the meeting. A common motion takes action without discussion on a roll call vote unless discussion of items is requested by a board member.
I would like to pull item I1A. Otherwise, I'll move to approve the consent items.
A first by Mr. Gracia, a second by Mr. Joe Shunk.
Trustee Water?
Aye.
Trustee Jankowicz?
Aye.
Trustee Martin?
Aye.
Trustee Shunk?
Aye.
Trustee Gracia?
Aye.
Student Trustee Madrigal?
Aye.
So with regard to item I1A, I was hoping to get some clarity about the GASB 75 disclosures report and why we might need to provide that.
Thank you, Trustee Gracia, for the very timely question. So like all of education, school business uses lots of acronyms and in technology, and so GASB 75 is one of those acronyms. So GASB, for those of you that aren't familiar with the term, stands for the Government Accounting Standards Board. So it's the independent private sector based organization that establishes accounting and financial reporting standards for U.S., state, and local governments that follow another acronym called GAAP, which is Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. I'm going to throw in as many as I can, by the way.
Okay, good.
So by the end, so that's two. I get credit for two. And so what is GASB 75 in particular? So GASB 75 in particular outlines the need to account for post-employment employee medical costs. And so I say that's timely, is if you look at our credit rating report, one of the things that has come up in all of our credit rating reports is the fact that we have another acronym. This is 3, so it's going to be our OPEB liability. It's another acronym that we use. So OPEB stands for Other Post-Employment Benefits. And so what we've done as a part of our budget is we kind of pay as we go. And so what that means is a part of our teacher contract, or not just our teacher contract, all of our employees, they have medical benefits that kick into place depending on your age for a certain defined time period. Now, a lot of school districts have gotten rid of that altogether to kind of put a cap on that OPEB liability. We still have some language in our contract where under certain instances, depending on the length of time that you've worked in the school district and the age you retire, you can get some medical benefits paid by the school district up until 65. And so there's two key pieces that we need to take a look at. From a contract perspective, we need to look at how we can potentially cap that out going forward. A lot of school districts have just kind of put an end of date on that, where they just, new employees don't qualify at all anymore. School districts that don't address that, like some of the other school districts that you've heard of that are having huge financial problems, inability to pay teachers, is because they haven't addressed that at all. And so we're in a fairly good situation because it's fairly limited the way that it's set up right now. But one of the big things that I'll be recommending this year is a setup of an irrevocable trust. And so what you do with an irrevocable trust to address this is you have the ability to charge all the proper resources for that cost going forward, and you put aside money in the irrevocable trust. You can vary what you put in every year. You don't have to, obviously you wouldn't want to put in too much money, but you want to get into a situation where you're not just paying as you go, that you're paying off or putting aside money towards that future liability. So only 3 acronyms though. I'll do 4 next time.
Thank you. I appreciate the explanation and report. With that, I'll move to approve.
First by Mr. Gracia. Second by Ms. Jankowicz.
Aye.
Trustee Jankowicz.
Aye.
Trustee Martin.
Aye.
Trustee Shank. Trustee Gracia.
Aye.
Student Trustee Madrigal.
Aye.
I just want to make one comment on, as we go through these board packets, I don't know how you guys do it, but I take copious notes as I go through, and this was the first, not the first, but I loved every single thing that came across it. There was professional development, there was experiential learning, there was, the Opera Guild, the a la carte. I looked through here and it made me smile. Every single box had something new that was for our teachers, for our children. It was great. It was that one place that what's that place called with the roller coaster? Anyway, it wasn't on there. I was so happy. Fabulous.
I did do a double take on one of these forms, and that was actually the last item when we're talking about safety training. I thought you guys put my business name there, because that's the same acronyms that are used for Adam's safety training are the same acronyms used for my business. And yes, I do provide safety and CPR training, so I was a little confused. I almost called you guys and take me off your list, please, because I can't do that. So I did do a double take there. All right, moving on. J, presentations and discussion items. Rosanna?
Yes, so that was included as part of our agenda template. Mistakenly, tonight we happen to have no presentations and discussions, so there are no items there. So,
Action items, questions, discussions, we'll go on. So K1.
Similarly, Trustee Martin, we have no action items under general services. So just part of the template, but no action items are there this evening.
Okay, K2, business and operations. K2A, contract between Michael's Transportations and NVUSD 2019-20 and 2020.
I have a quick question. Is this seen as a temporary condition or something that's likely to be ongoing beyond the next few months, current year?
I believe this is for this current school year.
Contractually, is this something, and we've done it previously, but is this something we're thinking of continuing going forward?
We have done it. We have it done in previous years. Mr. Mangala, do you have anything to add to it?
Yeah. So this is a contract that we have already had previously with other school districts, and so kind of what happened, I think I sent it out an email, was that there's a huge shortage of bus drivers, and last year the director and assistant director was actually driving a bus, and they had approached me the first week that I got here and said, "Hey, Rob, I need a funding increase," and I said, "I just got here, probably not get a funding increase. Let's kind of chat it out." And then as I kind of drilled down and looked into it, it turns out that we do support other districts in Napa Valley with their busing. And so what we did is we immediately looked at options for that, and what we decided is we'd have to hire Michael's bus drivers, but then we'd be charging them the cost directly. So I did send both of the CBOs of both other districts a letter stating that their contract for this year would increase by the exact amount that we're paying Michael's. Going forward in terms of next year, I'm pretty sure both of the contracts end at the end of this year, so it would be a discussion about after that whether we want to continue to offer that service or not. And so, well, I mean, there's some indirect costs, right? I mean, it's still, we have a certain number of buses, and then again, as you offer that service, you have to consider we have additional buses now, but putting them to best use and so forth. So there's.
Yeah, and when this contract was reviewed by the business office, we were uncomfortable with using our director and assistant director's time for other districts to be able to execute on the contract. And so before Mr. Manguala talked to the chief business officials, I spoke to the superintendents, and I did also frame it around the fact that they're basic aid and we're not. So, That's just really important for us to be using our resources to cover, we're happy to deliver the service for them given our size, but we cannot be using our staff's time in that way to execute on that contract. And so we appreciated the understanding, the collaboration of both the superintendents and the chief business officials of Calistoga and St. Helena, and they will be absorbing the increased cost.
The item?
Second.
A first by Mr. Shunk and a second by Mr. Gracia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Student? Aye. K2B, Solar Winds Help Desk System. Excuse me.
I'll move.
A first by Mr. Gracia and a second by Mr. Shunk. All those in favor?
Aye.
Student body? Aye. K3, Human Resources. K3A, Request to hire less than fully credentialed.
So moved.
First by Mr. Gracia and a second by Ms. Jankowicz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Student body? Aye. And K4, Instructional Services. K4A, Memorandum of Understanding between Napa Valley Unified School District, Migrant Education Program, and Napa Valley Education Foundation.
I'll move.
First by Mr. Gracia and a second by Ms. Jankowicz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Student body? Aye. K2B, Resolution 2006, Public Hearing and Certifying Compliance with Education Code Section 60119 and Education Code Section 60422.
So moved.
First by Mr. Gracia.
Do we have to have a public hearing?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's right. We got to do that first.
I don't have it noted as public, sorry, it's, okay.
So we need to open a public hearing.
Yeah.
My apologies, we didn't review that as you came in.
I love the gavel, by the way. So I request we open for public hearing on certifying compliance with Education Code Section 60119 and Education Code Section 60422, I'm sorry. Seeing none, no one approach, we close. I'll entertain a motion.
I think there was a motion.
Yeah.
Okay, so first by Mr. Gracia, second by Ms. Waters.
Trustee Water? Aye. Trustee Jankowicz? Aye. Trustee Martin?
Aye.
Trustee Shunk?
Aye.
Trustee Gracia?
Aye.
Student Trustee Madrigal?
Aye. K4C, Memorandum of Understanding between Napa Valley Unified School District and Napa County Office of Education for differentiated assistance.
I wanted to talk briefly about this item. An important part of what we have in this item is the monitoring of the effectiveness of our training. And so what I'd like to see is if in August of 2020 we could get a report assessing the effectiveness of this program so that we can keep track of whether or not we're making an impact.
Thank you. We will do so.
With that, I'll motion to approve.
One last comment before the motion. I also shared with Trustee Gracia, as we discussed some inquiries he had around accountability there, is that we would probably include some of that data as part of our annual review. In our LCAP would be a natural place for us to potentially also demonstrate our progress and potential impact of that professional development.
So I want to spend a few minutes on this, so I'm going to tap the brakes a little bit. How does this MOU relate to CCEE, which is the California Collaborative for Educational Excellence or something? So is this the county office fulfilling part of the CCEE framework?
It is related, Trustee Shunk. These funds, though, the targeted assistance funds are an umbrella term for a variety of different indicators on the dashboard and subgroups who perform at various levels. The first area that they have funded is targeted assistance, and this MOU is about summertime training for both special education teachers and general education teachers so that they are better equipped to meet the needs of students with IEPs in their classrooms.
Yes.
Yes, these were held in the summer.
So I'm familiar with that because I attended a couple of those sessions. And because I don't think this will be the only targeted differentiated assistance we end up needing, do we have a choice of provider beyond the Napa County office? Because as I understand it, there are geographic leads and there are subject matter leads in addition to the local friendly neighborhood county office.
You are correct. The district can partner with other agencies or groups as we see fit or as they meet the need that we have identified. In this case, the partnership, in this case, the county actually paid the teachers the stipend or the salary that they received for participating in the summer. They were not the providers of the training. The training was actually developed and provided by our staff.
Okay. So I guess as we go through differentiated assistance, I want staff to thoughtfully analyze where we get the biggest bang for. It's not just the buck, it's the time, energy, money, brains, and time put into trying to improve what we do. And in Napa County, I think it's fair, although crude to say, we are the county. We are 88% of all the students in the county, and I have my own reservations as to whether the county office can provide us much more than either we or they are already doing. So if we really do need differentiated assistance, we should be looking at the regional lead or the subject matter expertise leaders that have been identified in the state. So,
To clarify maybe on that understanding, that we identify the strengths and weaknesses, correct? They're a support mechanism, but the identification process is NVUSD, correct?
the dashboard's the identifying mechanism. I mean, that's how we end up on the list that says you need differentiated assistance. And then there's some other fancy term for, y'all need a bit more than slightly differentiated assistance.
Additional targeted assistance.
That's the one.
And we do have 2 schools that qualify for that, and in the work that we're doing, we have thus far not partnered with the County Office of Ed in those deliveries. And again, they were a fiscal partner in that they provided the funds for the teachers, but the design and the implementation, the facilitation of the training was done by our staff.
And the categories and the schools that had us fall into needing differentiated assistance, it's merely a matter of time before additional schools, because it's the same targeted groups that are like, well, it's not just school to school, it's you have to need help for several years.
Right, but it's
and
the matriculation process that
yeah.
needs to be supported.
So I think I've said enough for tonight.
We appreciate your recommendation to really look at subject matter expertise and look and make sure that we're looking sort of beyond ourselves, just merely relying on, the local partner and really looking at who would be the best and most qualified partner in order to make sure that we engage in real improvement work. So we appreciate that recommendation and we'll consider it moving forward as we can anticipate phases of differentiated assistance, continuing to evolve and unfold.
Do you need a motion?
Yes, I do.
I'll move the MOU with NCOE for differentiated assistance.
First by Mr. Shunk.
Second.
And a second by Mr. Gracia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Student body?
Aye.
Thank you.
K4D, Memorandum of Understanding with Burnett Therapeutic Services, Inc.
So moved.
A second.
First by Mr. Shunk and a second by Ms. Jankowicz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Student body?
Aye.
K5, School Planning and Construction. K5A, Award of lease-back contract for Phase 2 construction of the new Napa Junction Elementary School.
So moved.
A first by Mr. Gracia
Second.
and a second by Mr. Shunk. All those in favor?
Aye.
Student body?
Aye.
K5B, SPC 152617, call for bids, finishing kitchens Phase 2.
So moved.
First by Mr. Gracia and a second by Mrs. Waters. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Student body?
Aye.
SPC 152717, approval to procure kitchen equipment for new finishing kitchen at McPherson Elementary School.
So moved.
A first by Mr. Gracia.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Jankowicz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Student body?
Aye.
K5D, SPC 152817, approval of procure kitchen, kitchen equipment for new finishing kitchen at Shearer Elementary School.
So moved.
Second.
First by Mr. Gracia and a second by Mr. Shunk. All those in favor?
Aye.
Student body.
Aye.
SPC 26-10817, City of Napa water fees for River School.
So moved.
Or first by Mr. Gracia.
Second.
Second by Mr. Shunk. All those in favor?
Aye.
Student body.
Aye.
K5F, SPC 152917, materials testing and special inspection services for finishing kitchen Phase 1 at Shearer and McPherson Elementary Schools.
So moved.
Second.
First by Mr. Gracia, second by Mr. Shunk. All those in favor?
Aye.
Student body.
Aye.
Okay, informational items. Items under the section do not require board action. L1 Business and Operations. L1A Moody's Investor Services has assigned an A1 rating to NVUSD and a stable outlook.
I just want to commend staff on a good job of preventing our rating from going down any further and stabilizing. So thank you. Good work.
Yeah, and Mr. Manguala, can you take a moment, because I think it's important, just based on some of the public comment and some of the inquiries we've been getting around the need for the school district to acquire trans?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
uncommon. So in terms of it, when you have a school district where the majority of the money comes from property taxes, there's always going to be a cash flow problem unless you have a very, very significant reserve. And so years in the past, when we had a much higher reserve, I think the highest reserve I've seen is it's been as high as 18%. There's less of a need for the TRAN because you have the money sitting in an account. But as your reserves dwindle down to close to the minimum of 3%, there'll be a continued need for trans. I think that was also mentioned in the credit report and all the credit reports that yes, we do need to continue to issue trans. So this will continue to happen into the foreseeable future. So the rating, so the outlook, the rating is this. Yeah, so the rating is the same. The big thing is that there was a lot of discussion about us being downgraded again, and so that we went into this. And we told them this. We told them we kind of negotiated with them. We said, "You're not going to downgrade us, right?" When we kind of gave them the words that we wanted to, and then we're able to present it with facts, some of the work that we've been doing. So we were able to not make that happen. And then again, so the outlook was changed to stable from negative.
I think in the time I've been on the board, there was 1 year where we didn't do a trans. The amount of the trans has varied over time, but almost always we've had a trans.
That's great history for sure. It's very helpful to know that.
L2 Instructional Services. L2A Charter Council meeting minutes with MVLA and Stonebridge, May through August 2019.
So I'd like to discuss this a little bit. on the Stonebridge minutes, I would really like to see if we could get them to pass that very basic kindergarten level skill of putting their name on the paper. It would be great if we could see that at the top of their minutes so that they could put their name on the paper. My other concern was with the NVLA ones. They have a first and a second on their motions, but no recordation of any votes. So there's no way to tell if those things were passed or what happened after the first and second. So I'd like to see if we, as the authorizers, can get them to improve their product.
Yes, I can look into that. I also just want to note that we don't tell them how to do these. They do need to follow the Brown Act, but we do speak with them when they do it incorrectly or they don't follow the Brown Act. So I just want to be clear about our role in this, and we bring the notes as they're submitted to us to you for your review.
I met with Napa Valley Language Academy yesterday and gave them some feedback. There's also bills that have just recently passed that are really going to sort of up the ante around accountability for charter governance. And I told them that it's in the best interest of our charter schools to make sure that they're sort of aligning with our strategic plan goal number 6 and really thinking about how they're generating the evidence that they are implementing the Brown Act effectively and that they are improving and formalizing their governance structures.
Yeah, there's some existing legislation, probably 4 years old at this point, about how votes need to be recorded. I mean, we had to change our existing practice a number of years ago. So it may just be getting some CSBA materials on the Brown Act in front of them and say, you know, we're not making this up. It's common practice.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Board representative reports. We don't have any in any of these sections, is that correct?
We'll have to, President Hurtado was going to give a report on the Community Advisory Council, but given his absence, we'll leave it there, and I'm sure he'll do it at the next board meeting.
Sounds good. Okay. And additional suggestions and comments from board members and superintendent?
Yes. I really enjoyed the Masters in Governance 2 days, and it was fun to bond with 3 of my colleagues. We're very different people, but we have a lot in common, and that we enjoy serving the public in this way. And it was very handy to do some networking, particularly with a young woman from a district to the south about a jobs fair that they have at their high school, and it sounded just absolutely terrific. And I'm going to talk to her further about it. And Mr. Pearson, one of my friends, lives in the O'Brien Park neighborhood, and she told me that she really appreciated how wonderful McPherson's school looks, because she walks every day in the neighborhood. So we're cheering up not just our students, but the people in the area around. And she said it looks so much better. And she said, I'll bet the children really appreciate it. And I said, I think they do.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give an announcement. I know it's been really hush-hush. It's been 3 weeks since I haven't mentioned this, but I found out that I was nominated by the North Bay Business Journal. Someone else nominated myself. I will be receiving an award for Latina Business Leadership Award. They're going to have a luncheon with myself and various other small businesses. I really wanted to just take that moment, because as being a trustee and owning my own small business, it's certified small, and it's certified as a minority like triple times. I'm Latina, I'm single, and I'm a bunch of other stuff. The list can go on and on and on. But it's a true honor that someone took the time out to nominate myself and my business is doing something for our community. And lastly, my son everybody knows my travels with my son. He graduated Vintage High School. Mr. Pearson was his principal. He is with the U.S. Marines. He graduated this last summer, and he is now headed to be stationed in North Carolina. So we'll be saying our bon voyage this weekend for sure. So I may not be available and probably can't speak on the microphone after that date. So that ends my report for this week.
Motion to adjourn?
Sorry, future agenda items.
Okay. So in following up on the Masters in Governance class that several of us had over the past weekend, I was hoping that we could get a future agenda item to discuss ways that we can do more to incorporate discussions about student achievement and curriculum into our regular board meetings. One of the things that came out of that course was that really high-performing boards spend about 65% of their time discussing student achievement and curriculum, and much less time discussing financial issues. So I would like to see some strategies that maybe we could implement in the future to up our discussions of curriculum and student achievement.
Okay. I'm going to ask for a motion to close the meeting in honor of our Browns Valley student, Addie Dominici.
So moved.
First by Mr. Shunk and a second by Ms. Waters. All those in favor?
Aye.
Student body?
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned.